I heard you wanted some 2v2s. Well, good news for you. I got 2v2s courtesy of the XMT versus CB clan war. We're going to be checking in now to see if CB can continue a comeback. Last time XMT evened things up, currently sitting at 3-1. Unfortunately, I don't have time to provide you guys with cool graphics, although I would love to. It's just not possible due to some travel and illness and anyway, yeah, it's been a crazy couple of months for me. But anyway, that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and take a look at what they've got here in this 2v2. We've got Chaos versus Elves, two very tasteful, very loreful combinations. Furies of Corn up in the sky, and we've got Skull Taker here along with Karnak. Looks like a bunch of Marauders. We've got some Rot Knights mixed in here as well. A couple of Wrathmongers, including the Regiment of Renown there. Frolickers Bubonic. Looks like the Regiment of Renown Soul Grinder as well. Chaos Lord of Nurgle. Worshippers of the Crow, just for fun. Yeah, lots of warriors and marauders. Well, not really warriors, actually, but mostly just marauders, plus the elites. That's kind of how things go these days. As for the elves, absolutely spectacular. We've got a high mage here with a light wizard, or light mage, also archmage, of course, on the dragon. Sea Elemental, Durthu leading the Wood Elves side. Front line with some White Lions. Got lots of Elven archers here for the Wood Elves, of course. But it looks like the High Elves kind of went with the heavy front line. They've got a couple of support troops here as well on the Silver Helms and the Reavers, and then a heavy hitter in the Fireborn. We've also got Wild Hunters of Kurnos that are another big heavy hitter cavalry. And then, yeah, Durthu plus lots of archers. A couple of support spears here and there. Let's see. See how things get on. Sea Elementals, definitely an interesting pick here. Should potentially act as an anchor, but this is a lot of ranged. And often in 2v2s, kind of just depends. You know, if you're going to commit to range, you kind of need to commit very heavily in a way, in my opinion. Yeah, it just kind of depends. Sometimes a 2v2 army will commit heavily to a ranged component, and then if they come up against like a very severe rush, sometimes they can get overwhelmed. Sometimes you can, in 2v2s especially, sometimes you can accumulate enough firepower that even any rush becomes very difficult if you have a lot of like high burst damage ranged units, which Wood Elves certainly have access to. But instead, I mean, certainly the Blade Guard in some ways are high burst, but maybe not as high burst as something like the Way Watchers. Big old stack of Way Watchers, who knows? Hard to say. But regardless, that Cloud of Erosion, Regiment of Renown, the effect from the Regiment of Renown, rather than Noxbringer, the, yeah, Cloud of Erosion contact effect does destroy ammunition, so the longer the elves take to approach here, the more they're just going to lose out on ammo. And of course, any unit models that die also don't get to use their ammunition. So, you know, if you take that into consideration, definitely would be advantageous for the elves to advance. But let's see. Right now, we're going to fast forward as they both kind of sit patiently here. This is Conquest, so there's a Conquest objective, very slowly ticking up victory points for the one side. But certainly working in favor right now of the Chaos Alliance here. We're going to see the elves come forward, take a little poke. Try and poke in some arrows, but finally we get some bait and switch here as the Rot Knights come in. They're going to take some massive Overwatch damage from the Glade Guards there, and then kind of counterattack the Wild Hunters. They'll do some good damage into them, but yeah, double elite Elven Cavalry. It's going to be all over for this unit of Rot Knights. What's happening across the rest of the battlefield as this happens? Big old frontline engagement as Chaos runs in. Bloodwake's going to get focused a little bit as they advance here, but for the most part, Chaos is able to make contact, taking relatively minimal damage. Hawkeyes of Jakira. Okay, there was at least the Hawkeyes mixed in here as well. One unit of Way Watchers. Going to do some really nice damage. Both units of Rot Knights just getting absolutely punished. I say both. There is one more out there as well. But yeah, the Rotting Riders just get absolutely smashed there. Elves in melee and with ranged. Some Tempest as well on the Furies trying to cut through the sky. Quite an expensive spell to be casting on a relatively cheap unit, but I guess really wanting to try and protect these archers as much as possible. You do see some compromising elements though. Nurgle, Sorcerer comes through. A big old break on this flank as well. Skull Taker is able to support these Marauders and other units to punch through. They just devour front line and going to immediately run in the second line here. Glade Guard's getting inundated. More Furies rushing in. Just fantastic. Saw some Chaos Warhounds there coming off the corner that were hidden. They didn't really do much yet, but a lot of the Wood Elf mobility units kind of drawn away from the center as this huge melee engagement develops. We'll get in close for some cinematic angles. See the dragon potentially lining up a breath attack there maybe, but little net. Overcast net just to try and hold things in place. Some of the Furies are now going to get countercharged and taken down. They have already done what they needed to in helping to take out a lot of these archers. Absolutely backbreaking Walk of Doom here, although the Fecundity heal comes in handy. Does that actually affect Horn units? Doesn't seem like it. Sword of Daith goes down, but Durthu, yeah, got punished pretty hard in that engagement. He was able to extricate himself, but it's a lot of single entity power for the Elves here between Durthu, the Elemental, and the Dragons. They're going to maybe try and go 3v1 on Skull Taker, while Karnak's trying to cut and run, maybe get in close, use the silence without getting too close to take damage. The Sorcerer Lord for Nurgle is on the Rot Beast, so he could get in there as well and definitely contribute to that fight, but right now is not. Ooh, Sword of Khorne drops, hits those Hawkeyes of Jakira. Mobility, it's not looking great for the rush on this side. Yeah, looks like Elves pretty significantly ahead on the balance of power, as a lot of the Marauders were fighting quite well, but, you know, very brittle leadership. A lot of them are going to rout and run to the hills, especially in comparison to the Elven leadership. Still got Bloodwake Berserkers, nice, healthy, fleshy abundance there on them to try and continue to grind through, but the Chaos Army quickly running out of answers to try and deal with these big single entities. The Fireborn also are somehow basically untouched. And yeah, the Elven leadership, like I said, even though a lot of archers took a lot of damage, they'll come back and continue fighting here and start to put in some shots. Wrathmongers, without any missile block chance, they're also getting tired, so their armor is a bit down as well. Even the regular Glade Guards, the Hagbane Tips and the non-armor piercing variants. I guess it's just Hagbane's Tips and Starfire Shafts, right? But anyway, Hagbane Tips will do a little more damage there as a result. Durthu looking very, very sinister right now. Sea Elemental towering somewhat over him, but Durthu towering in our hearts, of course. Ooh, that Soul Grinder trying to do what he can. But Skull Taker also getting the Fecundity. Okay, so it does actually spread to the Khorne units. That's a nice little benefit of going alongside Nurgle here. Helps sustain these Khorne units that at times can be somewhat glass cannon, but let's see how much it ends up mattering here. Frolickers Bubonic just going to get eaten by the Sea Elemental as the Elves are able to chase a lot of routing units and just continue to follow up there with their own cavalry, Silver Helms and everything else doing a nice job. Chaos is holding on right now, but I'm not sure how much longer they can. Skull Taker's actually pretty close to heal capped between his passive feasting on what is it? Feasting on Gore Feast. That's it. Feasting on flesh. Anyway, yeah, Gore Feast here from the Blood Throne, but he's not going to last much longer with that healing cap being all eaten up. Arrows flying in. Flock of Doom hits everything that's left. It's a lot of single entities, but we'll do some pretty good damage to the Bloodwakes. I mean, they do have heavy spell resistance as well, so maybe not the best, but hey, every little bit counts, although Durthu's kind of getting beat up a little bit here. Maybe this is the start of the Chaos comeback if they can start to grind through. And especially like getting through these archers would be really, really important, because right now, I mean, even if they are able to beat Durthu in melee, which it seems like might have been a possibility, but he just took a couple of big chunks off that Chaos Sorcerer Lord, now forced to run from the dragon. Nice block there with the Noxbringer. But he himself just gets surrounded by the Fireborn and absolutely dies. Yep, army losses kicks in. And that's going to be game. Elves win that one, and CB draws ever closer, putting the clan war at 3-2 so far. A fun one for sure. Gotta respect the double chaos, you know, loreful. I don't think it's Slanesh. What is it? Tzeentch and Khorne that hate each other, and Slanesh and Nurgle that hate each other. I don't know. One of you lore heads will have to let us know down in the comments below whether this is actually truly loreful or just it is in my mind. But ultimately, for Plagueis here, yeah, I mean, his army really struggled to be super cost effective. Had a couple of bright spots, but the Rot Knights kind of getting eaten up on their own out on the flanks there was pretty tough. They definitely took a lot of damage, took a lot of resources for the Elves. For Skarbrand here, Skulltaker was able to get some pretty good value, but Bloodwakes also and the other Wrathmongers did a pretty decent job. They're pretty expensive, but overall, fairly solid performance. The Furies were also pretty nice for the Khorne side, but yeah, ultimately, I think the Rot Knights just really not paying out. Definitely costs the XMT side. On the other hand, Durthu, absolute beast. Definitely one of the stronger, if not strongest, lords in the game. I don't know. Would he be an A-tier lord? Maybe an S-tier lord? I don't know. I'd probably say more A-tier than S-tier just because of a few things. But especially in more melee-centric matchups, he can be an absolute beast. Almost 3,000 damage value, too, on a Starfire Shaft. Absolutely insane. 15,000, almost 16,000 damage dealt. The one Waywatcher that was brought, Hawkeyes or Jakira here. Yeah, he did a pretty good job. I was thinking it might not be enough firepower, but honestly, the firepower plus the counterpunch here, we see the Fireborn get some insane value there. Right over Rohan somewhere is smiling secretly, even though he is an XMT clan member, just to see such performance. Yeah, I like the pick of the Sea Elemental to act as an anchor, like I said. Did a great job in that role. Yeah, the counterpunch was definitely nice, and then a few key archer units. When you take this many, you know, one or two of them paying for themselves, significantly overpaying for themselves in this case, able to put in quite a bit of value work. So, fun one for sure. Let's hope that we continue to see fun games. In fact, I'm sure we'll continue to see fun games. To catch them, subscribe, keep it right here. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.